This is the Hunt, Fish, Conserve podcast, hosted by Ethan Evans
and Tyler Swenson.
Today we are joined by Trevor Hanna, an inspiring bow hunter and fitness junkie. Trevor is like us and has no one to show him how to hunt, and he is looking to get into bow hunting this year and has some general questions for us who have been doing it for a couple of years now. So I guess we'll just ask, where did this kind of passion kind of come for the outdoors? Because you kind of relate to us in a way where, you didn't really have a family who hunted or weren't really close to people who hunted.
Yeah. So I guess my grandpa is the only one that truly hunted, and I think he just went. All I remember is he'd give us deer sticks, and that's the only way I knew he hunted. So I guess when we were younger, Ty and I, we grew up in the same town, and I guess being outside and doing all that, when you're little, you can do that all the time. And then it was super fun. And then when high school starts and college, and I kind of got away from it, and I kind of missed that. And seeing you, Ethan, and Ty be able to hunt and do all that type of stuff outside again, kind of, was like, dang, I actually kind of want to do that. So,
yeah, I definitely relate with that. I mean, definitely with doing sports in high school. I mean, you're just so busy, and it's kind of like fully encompassed on that. So looking for something after college, or not after college, but high school per se. That's where I kind of found hunting in some ways too.
Yeah, and especially for me, we grew up playing a lot of video games, and I kind of got deeply involved into video games, and that brought me away from the outdoors, and I was just sitting on my Xbox all the time. And then once I hit high school, like Ethan said, I wanted to pursue it more and more, and soon I was away from the video games and outside all the time.
I mean, you can say it, Trev, but I think like you kind of watch like Joe Rogan, who's like been a really good advocate for hunting. And I think like seeing some of those guys on podcasts and like talking about it in a new light, because I mean, I'll even say like they definitely contributed some of my interest at first, because I mean, around us, like the hunting is a lot different than what they were talking about, but they kind of painted hunters in like around us, like we kind of think about hunters in a certain way. But like until you hear somebody like Joe Rogan and like those Rinella guys talk about it, like you kind of start to understand like hunting in a different atmosphere.
Well, and I think too, you bring up Joe Rogan, which like I liked him mainly because I could see myself in him. He wasn't a guy who had a huge family, big into hunting, and he really just wanted to try it. Yes, he is rich, so he can like be able to afford all that type of stuff. But seeing someone, even at his age, I don't know how old Joe Rogan is, but like seeing him at that age pick it up and like want to try it, and the impact it's had on his life and all the experience he's gotten from it, the friends that he's met,
Well, I think Rogan's really good at it too, where like he kind of talks about hunting in like a good light, where it's like not just going out and like hanging out with your buddies and hunting. It's like talking about the meat behind it too. And I think that was something that like kind of shocked me, and I think it shocked you as well.
Yeah.
For me, seeing a guy like that who's really never pursued that in his earlier life, and he is so involved in hunting now.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Not even just going out to kill an animal. It means so much more to him, and it's fun to listen to his stories.
Well, I mean, like we were kind of growing up, and we're kind of like getting more and more like individual, or trying to like learn more about like what we're doing. And like I guess I didn't really ever question like where my meat really came from until you start listening to some of those podcasts. And I think like when Joe Rogan starts talking about like, oh, I mean, like you don't really know what's like going on behind the scenes when you go to Walmart and buy your meat.
Yeah. Yep.
Being such a health freak and fitness junkie that you are, does that ever cross your mind, wondering where's my food coming from? And
yeah, all the time. Like, okay, when Ty and I go and get our groceries like for the week or something like that, when I'm constantly buying, I usually always go with like ground beef or more ground turkey nowadays, but sitting there like, where did this come from? What happened? How did they process this? Just figuring out where it came from, instead of like, mainly for a health aspect, but at the same time, just I don't know. That does interest me a little bit, because I think one of the biggest things with the health is, you see a label and you think, oh yeah, healthy. And then like Ty, that app that you had that like rates the food, it gives you like a grade. You just take a picture of the what is it? The code?
The barcode, and it gives it a letter grade.
No, I don't know.
Yeah, I've been scanning stuff at the store just for fun, just to see what kind of letter grade it got, and it's crazy to see the underlying preservatives that they put into these healthy foods.
I mean, that even you can even say the same about like organic stuff. I mean, organic stuff is just as bad. I mean, it's just kind of a label they throw on a lot of stuff, or like 100% grass fed. I mean, just because something was grass fed doesn't mean it wasn't corn finished or other things weren't pumped in to make it more profitable by any means.
Yeah.
And the thing that crosses my mind too is when you harvest that deer and bring it to the butcher, I mean, I'm sure they're pretty good about it, but just me being paranoid, it's like, is that my deer?
Oh,
like you really don't know.
Yeah, I mean, like if they're getting like, I mean, what's an average, probably even like in our little small town butcher and like an average shotgun season, they probably see at least like, 100 deer in a week or so or more.
Yeah, if not more.
But I mean, yeah, I mean, like, I think, and Joe Rogan kind of like touches on it too, where like it's a lot of fitness involved with it too. And I think you kind of were interested in that as well.
Yeah. Especially like, seeing the conditions that they were in, it's not like when they're saying, yeah, we walked like 10, 15 miles today, I just automatically think, oh, they're just walking, like me walking out on the pavement.
Yeah.
You're not seeing them walk like the crazy terrain that they're in. And I remember one time watching one when Joe Rogan like took his shoes off to like
stalk an animal.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of that stuff, I mean, it's rough terrain. I mean, there is no trail a lot of the time. I mean, usually you're side hilling, you're going over ridges. I mean, it's a lot of tough terrain, and a lot of time it always seems like you're going uphill. So
yeah,
if you want to get to like where those elk live and how to do that kind of stuff, and even like general fitness around us is like really important. I mean, there's some places, I mean, we don't have as big of parcels of land that they do out west, but it's really important to like, get away from the pressure. And I think a lot more people are kind of starting to realize that. But I mean, I think they say the average deer hunter around us only gets like half mile from the trailhead.
Yeah, I believe it.
Yeah. So, I mean, who's to say like what's another mile away? So, I mean, you might lose a lot of people if you're willing to walk a mile.
Because I mean, a lot of these spots around us, you probably could walk a mile into it, but a lot of the times, you walk a mile and you're already out of public if you were to walk that mile.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just being able to like, I don't know, when I got into hunting, that's kind of why I wanted to specifically do bow hunting. Cause like, I know you're hiking with everything, but just seeing Joe Rogan and like, Cameron Haynes was another one, seeing what they do. And like, I don't know, I thought that was really cool. And that's kind of why like specifically I thought bow hunting would be a perfect fit.
Yeah. And I mean, like those guys are really good primers for like starting to get people like the ball rolling. But like when it comes to it, I mean, there's a lot to do behind the scenes that like they don't really share. And I mean, Ty can touch on this too. I mean, like, there's a lot between like tree stand hunting whitetails in the Midwest versus elk hunting out west. And there's a lot of gaps to be made between there that they do get people like starting to think about it. But like when you want to talk about gear choice, it's like, what do I need to backpack? What do I need to land navigate? How do I get around? What do I do when I kill an animal? Like, all that kind of small stuff that's kind of overlooked when they talk about what they're doing.
Yeah. And another thing about that, they don't really touch on, and this isn't to deter anybody by any means, but shooting a deer from a deer stand or shooting it out in the elements that they are is a totally different game.
Yeah, it's totally different.
And I don't want to talk down at deer stand hunters because I've done it and it is hard.
Yeah, it is hard, and it's a lot of fun too by any means. But I mean, like you also got to look like everybody's like, oh, Joe Rogan, he had so much success. I mean, but he also pays like high dollar for landowner tags. I mean, they're paying $5,000-$10,000 for where they're hunting at. They're paying. I mean, like he hunted in the California ranch, which it wasn't like high fence or any means, but like it was like the biggest piece of private land. And I think he paid like, not 50,000, but like, 20, 30,000 to pay for that hunt. I don't know those numbers for sure, but I mean, like there's a reason why he's successful. I mean, if you have money and you want to hunt, yeah, you can be successful.
Yeah. Well, money talks.
Yeah. Even with like, I think one of the biggest problems for me trying to start out is just finding a bow. Like, I'm left-eye dominant, so finding a left-handed bow is hard enough. And then with whatever budget, like you're on, like, especially me, it's my first bow. I don't think I deserve like the top of the line.
Yeah,
like,
what did you expect to get into, or what was your budget when you first started looking for a bow?
I kind of underestimated. Yeah, I wanted free, but No, the biggest thing was that I was looking for around, I wanted to say 3 to 400, 450 probably would have been my max.
Okay.
And, Ethan hooked me up with like Facebook group, and we've had some, I've talked to a couple people, but yet again, there's so much more than just like looking for a bow. Like I asked Ethan and Ty, and you guys were saying, well, what about the strings? Or is there, I don't even know, do you guys say like a sight, that type of stuff? I was like, I have no idea.
Yeah, because I know when you approached us about it and you're like, well, what about this one or what about that one? Like you said, it'd be questions. Well, what about the strings? Well, what about the sight on it? Or what year is it? What kind is it? A lot of factors that go into just buying a bow.
I mean, yeah, even backing up for a second, I think like the biggest thing for a lot of people, and I shot a right-handed bow for a long time and like 2 years. And then I was looking at the market for a newer bow, and I kind of came across this group where it's like, check your eye dominance. I was like, what? Check my eye dominance. It's like, I'm right-handed, so I shoot right-handed. And I figured out that I'm actually cross-eye dominant, I think they call it, or cross-hand dominant. So I'm right-handed, but I'm left-eye dominant, like same way Trevor is.
Yeah, that's the same way I am.
And I mean, it's kind of affected like even trap shooting, rifle shooting, bow shooting. So I mean, it's something that I think a lot of people need to check out. And like, I've walked into bow shops before, and they don't really ask people that question because they just kind of assume that that. So I mean, that's probably like where I would say you start.
Yeah, that is definitely where I started because, I was practicing shooting with one of Ethan's old right-handed bows, and he's like, well, are you even right-eye dominant? And I'm like, well, I'd assume so. I'm right-handed,
Yeah, because I saw a lot of frustration with Ethan when we were out trap shooting. I'd be like, oh, try this or try that, and miss clay, and then he found out he was left eye dominant.
Yeah, I'm gonna say that's why I suck at shooting clays. Like, I was shooting right hand.
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah,
you're good at throwing them.
Yeah, that's really about it.
That's thrower. But I mean, so there's a lot of things I think get overlooked from very experienced people even. So yeah, I mean, like when you're going to look for a bow, there's a lot to kind of look for, and even especially when you go to the used market, because I mean, like if someone's new, it's like, oh, I'll go used because it's cheaper, and sometimes it's hard to say because even when you do go used, it can be more expensive in the long run. By the time you upgrade your strings, by the time you upgrade accessories and stuff like that. So
well, that's the thing. I want to say prime example is found a bow. I think it was a Hoyt. I don't remember what year or whatever, and it was a left-handed bow and probably 350 maybe. And I was like, all right, that's in the range. But then after you guys said the strings, the accessories, it was up to like, I don't know, $450, which is pushing my limit. So I think that was one of the biggest eye-opening things. Like just seeing, all right, the bow says this. I think of it's just kind of like a car. Like you are going to have to put a lot more into it once you buy it.
Yeah. And that's not even talking about arrows and like actual like hunting setups and stuff like that. So there's a lot.
And you don't know if the bow's going to come with a case or not.
Yeah.
And
a lot of variables.
And another factor we didn't talk about is draw length. I'd always ask Trev, like, what's the draw length on it? Is it adjustable?
Yeah. I mean, that's the biggest thing. I mean, if a bow doesn't fit you right, you're never going to shoot again. Like, that's where most people are frustrated with bow hunting because, like, they don't ever get a hit at bullseye because they're not shooting correctly or the bullet doesn't fit them correctly. So, I mean, definitely, like, looking at some of those factors. But I'd say, like, even for me, who I would consider myself, like, pretty personable and outgoing, I mean, going into a bow shop is, like, a pretty intimidating experience, especially, like, if you're new to it.
It definitely is.
Even going to Shields, I would not have gone into Shields and tested, like, my draw length and stuff if Ty wouldn't have been there. Because I look stupid, like, going up there and say, hey, I kind of need, like, a draw length. And they'd be like, oh, okay. And, like, they were so, yeah, we've been here, done that. But this is my first time. So I was super nervous and, just trying to.
I mean, even you, you're a pretty outgoing guy too. And like having that experience there was like pretty nerve wracking for you.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
no, for sure.
Because the last thing anybody wants to do is sound like an idiot while they're.
Especially in that stuff. Yeah. I don't know if it's, you see that strong, like just hunters in general, they have this bond and connection. And here's me, an outsider coming in. And wow, this kid doesn't even know his draw length. You know what I mean?
And by any means, don't be afraid to ask questions when I say that. It's just,
Yeah. I mean, like a lot of the bow shops that I've went into, I mean, there is like an older guy, but I mean, like their business is like based on selling bows and like getting new people into the sport because like, I've went into some shops where they go, head over heels to like make sure you feel accommodated. And there's others who do this just the bare minimum. And there's a big difference. I mean, you just got to like go out and try some and see who you like. But, you know, having a good bow shop relationship is a really important thing to have. And just like Ty said, you just got to make sure you're asking, you know, as many questions as you can. And like, there truly is no stupid question. And, you know, Ty and I've been doing this for a couple of years now. And like, we still feel like we got new questions all the time. And something new, we're always learning.
Yeah, because especially for me, by no means am I an expert about this stuff. I bought a used bow and then I sold it because I thought, oh, I don't want to bow hunt anymore. But now that I sold it, it's like, well, I want to bow hunt again. So a little bit of research and a little bit of asking the right questions, and definitely the help from John Carlson really taught me a lot.
Yeah, I mean, definitely have someone that's like willing to like work with you. But, you know, actually I went out and bought a new bow this year. And the biggest difference was like between my old bow and this one is probably, and people, you know, a lot of things change in 15 years. And I'm sure there's a lot of nitty gritty things that change, but, you know, I knew a lot of people who were killing deer 15 years ago with those bows too. And probably the worst thing was like the strings, you know, were probably bad on the old bow and it's just a lot heavier. But I mean, you can get it done with a used bow too.
Well, yeah, that's what I was going to ask you guys is like, when I look at looking for bows, like what, say if you could make a list of like the top things I should look for in a bow, like what would they be? Because you know, like you go in and you guys were telling me all these things, but like what are the maybe like top 3? I don't know that you guys.
Well, I mean, I'd recommend buying from like a reputable company like Hoyt or Matthews, because I know that like those companies still warranty bows that are like 10 to 15 years old, where like if you had something that like, totally go wrong, like you broke a limb or a cam, it's still covered by warranty. It's still going to cost you some money to get it replaced, but you're not totally shut out of luck if you were to break something bad. So you were able to get something like good. So staying with a reputable company, and you know, like if you I mean, I know they all carry them, but another thing would be like going to a bow shop and just trying out a couple different bows and like pestering the guy. And you know, if you're trying to get into bow hunting, I wouldn't wait till, you know, September to go.
No.
I mean, go during the off season when these guys aren't as busy. You know, don't even go during turkey season because those guys are busy fixing bows. Like go in the like summer or something, or just after turkey season, and like spend an hour or two there and just shoot a bunch of bows. And another thing I'll say about this, and I can add on some other points, but when you're looking at bows, I think people get really lost in the idea of like what bow to buy, because I think it's like, I need like a bow really isn't necessarily, I don't know if I can come up with a good analogy off the top of my head, but like, it's kind of like a bow is just like, it's just like the body almost. And like, there's a lot of the body of a car. And if you want to like add a lot of different things, you can add a lot of different things that make it a lot better. And I mean, like a bare bow will get you to point A to point B, which is shooting a deer. But like, it's kind of like what differentiates that bow is like what kind of accessories you put on. Because like you can get an air rest for $25, you can get an air rest for $300. So I mean, I would honestly recommend people spending a little more time putting better accessories on and like putting a better bow on.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay.
And I would say on top of that, I would compare it to I'm a big golfer, so I guess like a golf club. A driver is a driver in anybody's eyes, but go out there and test these used bows at these shops and kind of see what fits right to you, or feel or how do I want to say it? Like, make sure the bow feels comfortable to you.
Okay. So like, yeah, maybe, what were the 2 brands you said? Hoyt and
Matthews.
Hoyt and Matthews. So like maybe to you guys, Hoyt feels the best with you. Like you love that. So
yeah. And a lot of it is preference, I guess. A lot of people are pretty loyal to either Hoyt or Matthews. You know, I've never met a guy that would recommend both. I mean, they'd be like, well, you have to buy Matthews, but Hoyt's an all right bow too, you know, or the other way around. But just go and find what feels comfortable to you.
And that's the thing too. I mean, saying like going and finding like what's comfortable to someone new is kind of tough. And I know I've said it too, but like, because like they don't really, I mean, like you probably don't really know what's even comfortable, right? Because like you're still like, learning technique and all that kind of stuff. So I mean, it is kind of like a long-term investment. I mean, I'm still learning kind of what's comfortable to me, as I'm sure Ty's kind of learning what's comfortable to him, where like you got to like it's kind of like a long-term investment. And like, you know, you kind of buy a bow and you use it for a couple of years and you kind of think like, well, what do I like? What do I don't like about this bow? And then hopefully by that second bow, you might kind of figure it out. Cause it is just kind of like a niche thing. It's like, a lot of bows, like like I could shoot 90% of bows and kill a deer, but like, there's that little slight difference with a different bow that I might like better.
And then another thing I would add to that, once you find that bow that you really like and really enjoy, don't wait till deer season, like a week before deer season, to really start shooting arrows.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of practice. I think that's what people really like about bow hunting is it's just it's a really full encompassing sport where it's like you can always be in better shape. You can always be a better shooter. You can always be doing X, Y, and Z to make yourself better.
Well, that's what I mean. Like the first time, I don't know when was that? It was like 2 months ago,
yeah,
maybe. First time shooting, and there was what, maybe like 15 things you told me within like 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Just form wise, I didn't even shoot the bow yet, and I was like, my God, like I don't even like. I was just overwhelmed. So no, that was.
That's the thing that's too is like when I first went to the bow shop, I bring my bow in, we get all set up, we're ready to shoot. I shoot some and like I'm still like he's sitting there watching, making sure he was looking right, and like he was a super nice guy, but I'm still like really nervous because I mean like you're like around somebody you don't know. I mean I bought the bow and like I didn't really get comfortable about like that fifth time I shot it because I was just by myself and like learning the draw cycle, learn how it feels when I get it back in like my anchor position and like. That's kind of like with you. Like the biggest thing I'll say to people is like, once you buy a bow, like you just got to shoot with it and like just get as much comfortable as you can. And like being around someone that you're like friends with that well, I think that's like kind of what helped you a little bit, Trev.
Yeah, I would say honestly, to anyone like in my position that has no idea what they're doing, if you can find at least a friend or even just going to like Shields and talking to someone saying, "Hey, look, I have no idea. Give me all your knowledge," because Ethan and Ty have helped me out a bunch with figuring out what type of bow, just the little things we've talked about so far. So I don't know. I think that would be the biggest thing I would suggest to someone in my position. Like find someone who can teach you.
Yeah, that does definitely help a lot.
Yeah. Easier said than done.
Yeah.
I'm lucky to have Ethan and Ty, but
well, I remember my first experience, I didn't know anything about it. I really had no interest in it. And I was like, well, I kind of want to hunt deer. And then my grandpa, somebody's like, oh, you should get in touch with a guy like John Carlson. So I was like, all right. So I went over to John Carlson's and yeah, he was like, you need to do this, this, and this. And, just get a bow and we'll practice with whatever bow you come up with. And really taught me the fundamentals at first. And that kind of brings me to where I am today.
Well, yeah, that's the thing I think with like hunting is just like, or like getting a bow. I think it's really easy to like overcomplicate it to the point where like you do too much research and you like don't even know where to start.
Yeah.
And I think that like just getting a bow and going out and shooting is like the best thing you can do because like the longer you wait, the less likely you have to do it. And you're never really going to have time to do it. So it's better just to start shooting.
Yeah. Because unfortunately you can't practice everything all at once. You kind of got to take it step by step. Like, if you think about every little thing that you need to do in just the form or process of shooting the bow, it, like you said, Trevor, it gets to become a lot at once.
Yeah. I remember specifically Ethan was telling me exactly where to put my face near like the bow. And I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Like, I didn't even know. I remember in PE, we just shot the thing. Like I was like, what? I didn't even know that was a thing. So no, that, and like Ethan said, just shooting in itself helped 10 times more, just helped me get a little comfortable with it. I don't know. I'd say besides all the pointers and stuff, having Ethan there and like kind of like critiquing after I shoot, say, what could I work on now? Or something like that really did help.
Yeah, I definitely think like can't stress that enough how important that is to have someone there that you're just comfortable with and like, and like you're comfortable with asking questions. I think Trevor did a really good job with like asking questions after I would tell him something that like if he didn't totally understand it, he was like comfortable enough asking me, what do you actually mean by this? Because I feel like it's so easy to get lost in all the lingo and all the words and everything and all the technical terms that we always use day to day with other people who are bow hunters.
And it's hard to relate to a YouTube video. Obviously, those YouTube videos and tutorials out there help a lot, but it's hard to relate to it when you're the only one there. You know, you can't watch yourself shoot the bow.
Yeah.
So just find someone. If you can find someone, it's really helpful and really beneficial to first starting out.
So we talked to, like, you guys have talked to me a little bit about the bow specifically, but now if I'm going to say I'm a little bit more seasoned, what would I need to know, like, to actually hunt, like, instead of just practicing shooting?
Yeah, I mean, Ty's got a little more experience in the field than I do, but I mean, when it comes to a lot of people in the Midwest, they tree stand hunt. It's what they call it. So, you know, we, like Ty said, we hunt on smaller parcels of land. We don't do spot and stalk. It's like, you can do spot and stalk, but like a lot of people will usually want to go scout, and you kind of find a tree that you like, and you think that like there's deer sign around. And the next thing you kind of do is, you know, the best thing I would say is like kind of learn how to set up your tree stand and like how to kind of, how it all works together. Another thing is like just being able to shoot off a tree stand is a whole different thing too.
Yeah, because sometimes you go out in the woods scouting for a spot to put up your tree stand. I mean, the little experience that I have, you go out there and the deer have been running through here. You can see it on the ground, all the foot traffic. And then you might see a rub on a tree where they rub their antlers up against it, or a scrape where they're like scraping at the dirt. And then it's like, all right, this is the spot.
Mm-hmm.
And you start looking around at the trees surrounding you. That's sometimes the biggest battle, is finding a tree standing straight up with minimal branches on it to hunt out of, because you want to be comfortable while you're all the way up there.
Yeah. And like, you know, another thing is like, you know, you can hunt from the ground, and there's people that are successful doing it, and there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, I think you just maximize your chances if you're in a tree stand.
So around Northern Iowa, what percentage of people like are in the tree stand? Like, maybe
90-some%.
Yeah, okay. I was gonna say I have no idea. So
yeah,
okay.
I mean, if they're not, they're usually like what's in a ground blind, which would be like kind of like what an ice fishing shelter looks like, but it's like totally camouflaged. I mean, there are some people who like don't hunt out of anything, and if you're in a good enough spot and you have a good enough height, you can do it. But you're also playing with a thing that has like, you know, I don't know how good of an eyesight compared to us, but you know, just an insane eyesight and smell. And the smell is another thing that will get you a lot of the times.
Yeah.
I didn't even know. Well, I don't know. This is pretty embarrassing. Probably 4 months ago, I was like, wait, like smell's a big factor in hunting.
Yeah.
Like, I know that sounds stupid, but
well, to a new hunter, I mean, that was crazy to me in my mind when I first started hearing about deer hunting. I was like, really? And you know, John Carlson, he was telling me like, you should probably get some scentless shampoo, some scentless deodorant, and some toothpaste that has baking soda in it or something like that. And that plays a big part. You can do all those things right, and then you got to start worrying about your clothes.
Yeah.
And you can do all of that right to what you think, all right, you know, I'm scentless. And next thing you know, the wind's going to where the deer are usually walking through, and all of a sudden you see it stand straight up and kind of look around, you know, it looks nervous and scares the deer off. I've had that happen to me.
Yeah. And I just think that like there is a big gap between shooting and then hunting, and not just saying that you have to be proficient at shooting. I mean, just knowing about deer behavior, knowing like where to even put a tree stand up, how to hang a tree stand. There's a lot to it. And there's a reason why people aren't always successful, you know? I mean, Ty, like how many hours did you log in a tree before you shot your first deer?
Oh, there was days where I'd be out there because I was asking all kinds of questions. I wasn't very successful, and I was like, well, what time should I be out there? And one guy told me, well, sometimes I sit out there from lunchtime till shooting light. And I'm like, oh, really? So I tried it one day. I saw one deer that whole day. But no, I probably logged in, I don't know, probably 60 hours or more before I shot my first deer.
And see, that's kind of the part that intrigued me, is that, you know, that factor of sitting there for how long, a whole day, and you may only see like one deer, and that's your chance. Like, you don't get many other chances after that. You get one shot, all that practice you put in, and I don't know, I feel like that adrenaline rush, like you guys have talked to me about it, that's something I want to
Well, I mean, I've never really experienced it, but like Ty has, and like I mean, Ty's hunted a lot, and I think he still says like his biggest adrenaline rush is like when a buck walks around the corner.
Yeah, because don't get me wrong, I haven't seen many deer when I've been out in the deer stand. I think this was like my second year of being out there quite a bit, and yeah, it's the most boring thing you'll do until that deer walks through, and all of a sudden there was a time where it was this year, a deer walks through the woods or a buck was walking right beside it, and my adrenaline was rushing so bad I was like shaking and I couldn't sit still.
Yeah.
Until that deer walked away.
And that's kind of what I heard you talk about that, and it was one of those things where like, man, like I'm missing out. Like I want to, take part in that and experience that for myself.
Yeah, because it's a totally different adrenaline rush. If you want to compare it to something, you can't. It's just totally different.
Yeah, and like that's the thing, you watch these hunting shows, and I think the biggest discouraging factor to people that are getting into it is like, I'm gonna go out one day and shoot a deer. Well, it's like, yeah, but you might have to go out, 30 days before you even see a deer.
Yeah, for sure. Because like you said, you can't just go out there and expect there to be a deer there 10 minutes later. It's a lot more work than that.
So I I know you personally, Trevor, enough where like you respect the grind, and like I think you really do have to really understand the grind and respect the grind if you want to be a hunter. Is the number one thing I would tell people. Because even like Ty this year, I mean, he's pretty experienced, and like, I mean, how like you shot a couple deer before, but this year you ended up missing one.
Yeah, I think I borrowed your bow, and I was totally worked up about getting a deer before the season ends, because I kind of it was like a quarter of the season was already gone, and I was like, man, I really want to bow hunt this year. So Ethan's like, yeah, you should do it. So I went out and bought a tag, and he borrowed me his old bow, and I went out, and the second night I was out there, a doe walks by, and it was a pretty nice doe, and I'm not out there to shoot only antlers.
Yeah.
At this point in my life. So I drew back the bow. It was like literally 5 yards from me on the ground, and I felt like a complete idiot, but I drew it back and my peep sight was twisted. So I couldn't see through my peep sight. And then so I was trying to line it up, and like I said, it was 5 yards from me, and a lot of things went wrong, but I still shot, and yeah, I totally missed.
I mean, that's just a good example that like even Ty, who's like knows a little bit more about deer biology, setting up in tree stands, and you still have to worry about that shot going right. And that's like not to say, I mean, like Ty's a good shot, but I mean, there's a lot of people who miss a lot of the time.
Yeah, because another thing I wasn't thinking about in the moment, the deer is so close to me. I got to aim just a little bit below where I want the arrow to go. And there's things even like that. You practice shooting bow at 20 yards constantly. But
yeah, what day? How far was I shooting that one day?
I think you shoot like 10 yards.
Yeah. See, like,
yeah.
Well, what was your experience with that? Because I know you've shared that with me before.
I will say it was probably one of the funnest, or most fun things I've done, because it was just like, how would I describe it? You draw back, and it's that instant gratification where that arrow hits the target. So, and it's not like, it is kind of taxing on the body, because after probably about 15, 20 shots, like my arm was kind of tired because I underestimated, I work out and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, okay, what is it? Like 50?
I think it's like 55 it was set at.
Yeah. And I'm like, all right, well, my first mistake was pulling it from the ground to my shoulder, and that felt like 200 pounds. But 55 pounds, like after 20 shots, like I was pretty taxed after that. I wasn't used to that.
Yeah, but weren't you telling me, you were shooting at 10 yards, and all of a sudden Ethan's like, all right, now this is where we usually shoot from.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that was the
another
big thing.
10 yards.
I thought that is where you usually shoot from. So I'm like, gosh, pretty good, and then they take a step back, and gosh, that target gets small quick. And, it is super fun though.
Well, I think like you even noticed like the things that I would tell you, like you would have one arrow like hit like in a really bad spot, and I'd be like, okay, Trev, you did this wrong, and like you would do that little minor correction. It wasn't like a big thing by any means.
No,
but that little minor correction, it was like arrow hit right in the middle.
Yeah. For example, what was I? I was bottom right.
Yeah.
I think for 3 straight shots. And he's like, well, you're like dragging it. What did you say?
Dropping your arm.
Yeah, dropping your arm. You're not holding your follow through.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay. So, string it up. And then right after I let go, I held my follow through. And, just that little correction made a world of difference. So,
and that's something I think I'm still guilty of, and I'm sure Ty is too, about dropping their arm. I mean, that's a really easy thing, and it's an easy thing to correct, but it's a hard thing to like permanently fix.
Well, it's one of those things you said, like, you just want to see where that arrow went right away, and you want to pull it back. And, oh, sweet, but
yeah, because when I was shooting pretty religiously, when I first started getting into shooting bow and bow hunting, I remember I was shooting with John Carlson because he would always teach me a lot, and he was always good at nitpicking you. Oh, you dropped your arm, or you didn't hold your follow through, and there was oftentimes I'd have something fixed for like 1 or 2 arrows, and all of a sudden the arrow would be like an inch off of the grouping that I usually shoot, and he'd be like, "You're doing it again."
Yeah, and I think that was one thing that I kind of had to prepare myself for, was just being able to be taught, and not take the criticism in a bad way. Like, Ethan telling me to do this isn't saying like I suck. Like, it's just saying, look, this is something I need to work on, and I'm helping you because I want better for you. It's not like, oh, Ethan's nagging me again. Like, come on, just get off my back.
Yeah.
So
well, another thing I'll say about like bow hunting or just hunting in general, I mean, Trevor, like, you're pretty gifted athletically, and like, there's no amount of being like giftedly athletic that can make you a better hunter. Like, you weren't just like pick up a bow and a natural. Like, you were a natural at a lot of things, but like bow hunting is something that you're not natural at. And I think if you're willing to put the time in, like, it kind of levels the playing field for a lot of people.
That's what I liked about it too, because, like 7-foot guy, he's going to be okay at basketball, but it doesn't matter what height you are, what skill you bring to the table. At the end of the day, with bow hunting, it's going to be the person who practiced the most.
Yeah.
Which, like in other things, that's not always the case. And that's what kind of intrigued me, that level playing field, the challenge, the adrenaline rush, all that stuff was like big factors into why I was like, this is something I would want to pick up.
It's going to be fun to watch you develop as a bow hunter if you were to still pursue it, obviously. But because for basketball, growing up with you, you worked a lot harder than I did to be a better basketball player, and it really did pay off in the end. And I mean, you're so motivated and all about that grind. It's fun to watch.
Yeah, I think like seeing someone like you who's like actually like once they set like their mind to something like that, and like bow hunting could be an example of that. Like showing somebody who like they're really wanting to set their mind to something that like they can become a really good hunter.
Because I will say I'm often guilty of it when someone comes up to me and says, oh, maybe I want to try duck hunting, or maybe I want to try bow hunting. I'm like, all right, kind of take it with a grain of salt. And the next week they forget about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think everybody kind of like sees that like, that cool picture, that cool time when like, when Ty shot a bunch of ducks.
Yeah. And I'm definitely guilty of that, but don't get me wrong, I'm very open to helping people out. So don't be afraid to approach me, anybody listening to this.
Yeah, that's goes for both of us. And even someone like Trevor, who's maybe got a little bit more experience, like kind of in the same boat as you guys.
Yeah, I am exactly in the same boat. Like, I'm sitting there, Ty would be watching that show Meat Eater, and like, I had no idea what was going on. Like, I'd have to ask like 20 questions an episode, because I'm like, what? Like, wait, they call an animal this? Like, I don't know. And it's fun. Like, as long as, I say the biggest thing, coming from a guy who absolutely knew nothing, is just, like I said, I've probably said it 100 times already, but having that open mindset and knowing you're probably going to sound stupid a little bit. Like, it's just going to happen. Yeah, but as long as you can take it with a grain of salt, the guys are going to give you a little crap, but that's part of the experience. And, I'm still doing it right now. So I don't know. I think that's a big thing.
Yeah. And like
positive mindset.
Yeah. Positive mindset. And like, don't have your expectations that you're going to go shoot, an 8-point buck. I mean, just be happy you see a deer, be happy you're out there, and be happy you're confident enough shooting your bow. So
yeah. And another thing, if you're going to start out bow hunting, don't be afraid to shoot. I've been told this by John Carlson, who I keep bringing up, but I've been told that, shoot a doe after a doe, and just to get that practice down. And then by the time, you got all that field experience of shooting a deer from the deer stand, by the time that buck walks around, you're going to be prepared to make an accurate shot, compose yourself while all that adrenaline is rushing, and hopefully come out of the hunt successful.
Well, that's just a thing that just makes hunting hard in general. Is like you got only so many days you can hunt. There's a small window of time that you actually have personally to hunt. Like, it's not like you can go out and practice hunting. You can go out and practice shooting, but like being in a real hunting scenario is a totally different thing. And that only comes with like a lot of time and experience. I mean, like you said, like you might only get, one shot in a deer a year.
Yeah, that's it scares me, but also at the same time, like it kind of like intrigues me because like you have that one shot.
Yeah, I mean, it's like kind of like going on the line at the free throw line, and like you're like, this is to win the game. So.
Yep. So I think that's just something that I looked and I was like, that would be really cool.
Yeah, I'm definitely glad that motivates you because that might shy away a lot of new hunters.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people are always like, oh, we want a lot of hunters in the sport, which I mean, I want more hunters in the sport, but like, the people really realize like what really like goes on from start to finish.
Well, yeah, if I'm going to be honest, like I was a little deterred from bow hunting because originally I saw Joe Rogan and all these pictures and stuff. And then you hear like what we've kind of talked about, how you may go a whole year and like not even get a buck or like see one, like, and I was kind of like, geez, like you have to like, I had to look back and be like, all right, is this something like I really want to do then? So,
yeah. And from not that I've experienced it, but for people who want to go out west too, often I think it plays in people's mind where, oh, I'm going to spend all this money and I'm not even guaranteed that I'm going to shoot whatever animal you're going after.
Yeah. So like quick question, how much would it be for me to get a tag? Like,
like in Iowa?
Yeah.
It's like $35. Okay. All right, Ty?
Yeah. $35. Yeah, that sounds right.
Well, plus whatever you're hunting, what's a hunting license? And I don't even know.
Yeah, what is
like 20, is it?
Yeah, I think the hunting and habitat fee is, I want to say it's like $15. I'm not sure. And then I always have a bunch of other crap on my license because of turkey hunting and duck hunting. But you probably
around $50 maybe.
Yeah,
in total.
Yeah,
50, 60. I can't remember exactly what it is.
But like if you're really happy with like your bow and your setup and your arrows, and like you have a tree stand you like that's mobile or a tree saddle, like that's like it's a high initial investment, but like a recurring investment might be $50 a year if you're not upgrading any of the other gear.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of guys who are like, let's wear Sitka on First Light, and yeah, it's awesome, but like you can go to Walmart and buy camo there, and like you can get by with a cheap tree stand, but I mean, like you can make it minimal if you want to.
That's what I mean. That kind of scares me a little bit with not even knowing if that's going to be something I like. Bow hunting is something I want to do, like, just trying it out. I don't know if I'll want to stick with it. And, you see the price and you're kind of like, oh man, like that does kind of scare me,
Yeah. Don't be afraid up front when you see that, when you ask someone, oh, what does it take to get into deer hunting? And then they're like, well, you got to have this and this. Don't be afraid of that by any means. There is cheaper ways out. Yeah, there's definitely cheaper ways. There's used stuff. There's people who like give away stuff all the time. You might be able to use some stuff. So, I mean, there's definitely a lot of ways to get around, that full price you'd pay at like a big outdoor store.
Okay.
Yeah, because the clothes that I hunt with are, I think they're Cabela's. Grandpa bought them for me a while ago, but let's just say Cabela's. I think that's what they are. But I think the full set was like $150 or something like that. Super cheap, but it's puffy. It keeps me super warm on those really, really cold days. Plus I have layers underneath, but not very expensive to what you could be getting into. Yeah, I mean, people like wearing Sitka get like, $1,000, $1,500 just in clothes. So I mean, like you don't have to have that to go kill a deer by any means, but yeah, and if you think you're going to spend that money and then all of a sudden you get all that gear and now you can't afford to go hunting, that would be pretty detrimental.
Yeah, I think that that's what I was curious about. You get the bow, and all, and you're ready to hunt, and like, well, now you got to get the gear.
Yeah.
And that's a whole nother aspect of like, which gear do you want? Which gear should I get? You know, like what brand and stuff. So,
I mean, that's another thing. I mean, I think, with hunting and fishing, I think there's always that market for you stuff, and like you can always buy stuff and resell it. And I've done it numerous times, but with just hunting in general, I think it's just, you have to like, I mean, like I've been doing it for a couple of years, and like, you can take a year to kind of acquire a lot of gear. And if you kind of break that over like a year, like that's, let's say it's like $1,000 total to get into hunting, over like a year or 2 years, really, that's not too much money per month if you were to save that.
okay.
It seems like a lot upfront, but if you were to actually save it.
Yeah, because I think I've been goose hunting ever since I was really little, and probably high school when I finally kind of stopped growing a little bit. I bought some more expensive gear in my eyes, which was that $150 set. But I hunted with that for, I don't know, probably 4 to 6 years until this year I finally treated with myself with a little Sitka. But
Okay.
it does work. It all works the same. I mean, some are better than the other, but it all works the same.
Okay. Yeah, that was, one of the big things I wanted to hit on, because for me, that was one of the scariest parts about getting into it, the price and what to get and what not to get. Because before this, I had no idea that like Sitka and like Hoyt and all that stuff were like the top ones. So I just didn't know.
Well, especially too, like that's like, say you go on YouTube and you're like, well, what kind of camo do I wear? I mean, like those guys are going to be like, usually they're sponsored.
Yeah.
So they're always pushing whatever they're sponsored by, and they don't really care about the price tag. So, I mean, like you just got to be able to cipher through that information and like, actually talk to some people who are actually been doing it and have some like realistic expectations for you to set as far as like money goes.
Yeah.
But, like that's probably like number one thing I would say is just, getting comfortable, and, it is high upfront cost, but there's always, you might take a little loss, but you can always resell stuff too. So I would never be like afraid of price by any means.
No, because there's always someone out there who's going to be where you were once at and wants to start getting into it. And, it's a good market for them.
People selling the bows were a lot nicer and like more welcoming to like help me out than I expected. You kind of think, oh shoot, is this person just trying to like sell me
like a full-blown salesman?
Yeah. But no, they're guys that are like, hey, I was once in that position too, like that Facebook group chat. What was it called, Ethan?
Just like Bowhunters of Iowa.
Yeah, that one did really help me out. So
yeah, I mean, I think there's like 40,000 people in there, and I think like even when you post like in search of a left-handed bow, I think there's like
there's probably
10, 15 people selling bows 15, on there.
15. Yeah. I'd probably got 15 bows in like, I'd probably say 48 hours.
Well, I remember, I think at first you were showing me all the comments, and then I was like, oh, have you checked your messenger or something like that? And Trevor's like, oh, I don't even have that downloaded.
Yeah.
And he downloaded it, and he had like 50 other messages on there.
Yep. So,
I mean, that's the thing too, but like, hunting, this is kind of a different subject, which will translate to, it's like, I don't think you can always judge hunting or like a successful hunt by like, if you were successful in the field. I think a lot has to do with like experience. So as far as like, like who were you with? Did you have a fun time? Was it fun? I think that's the biggest thing. It's not always about like, did you limit out? Did you kill an 8-point? Like, did you have fun doing so? And like, will you keep doing it? Because I think people that are really like romanticizing like, oh, I want that 8-point or I want that limit, like those aren't the people who always stick with the sport.
No, if you're not out there to have fun, then yeah, you're probably not going to stick with it. So just try to have fun. Don't have that mindset of, I need that 8-pointer.
Yeah. I mean, like that's the thing I'll just tell you, Trev, and I think that's a good way to kind of like talk about it and kind of end the little hunting tangent we kind of had. But I mean, did you got any other questions for us, or like what kind of like things about hunting in general?
Let me see. We talked about the bow, exactly like after you get done. Honestly, I don't really think I have too many more questions. No.
Yeah, I guess like, one thing we'll talk about too is like, in most states over 18, you still have to do your hunter education.
Yep. Okay. Yeah.
And that's virtual. So you can do all that class online. And then like in most states, you don't have to actually do a field day. which would be like where you have to like go and shoot a gun or anything.
Oh, okay.
So you can do most of it virtual, and I think it's like $20 for the course. So I mean, that's another thing that you have to have if you want to go hunting.
Yeah. So if you haven't done that, and you're thinking about hunting, just go online and go through the course. It's pretty easy, and you do learn a little bit from it, and it's just something to always have. Nice to have.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely just a lot of good safety reminders, especially like for like a new hunter who like think that you might overlook some things that they talk about.
Yeah.
And like things that are obvious to someone like Tyler and I, but then aren't like obvious to someone like you. So
I know. Yeah. There's a lot of things that you guys just like naturally think about where I'm like, oh, like I have to consciously like, oh shoot, like I need to remember to do that type of stuff. So,
Yeah, because I know bringing on new hunters like duck hunting all the time, it's pretty important. I'm kind of a stickler for like, all right, this is what we're going to be cautious about. And, watch where you're swinging your gun. You only get to shoot this way, not the other. Safety. But that course walks you through a lot of that.
yeah. So I guess, I guess we'll kind of talk about, one of your recent outdoors experiences with kind of frogging. I mean, that's something that you and Ty did a lot this summer or spring.
We just kind of picked that up. I think I started with Jackson, one of our last guests, and then I took Trevor out, and you really caught on to that.
Yeah, that was super fun. Just I don't know, it'd usually be around like 5-6 o'clock, and we'd go out with it was literally just like a spear, and
yeah, we had one of those 4-prong spears, and then
a pole. Like I had a.
Well, not to interrupt. I mean, like when we say frogging, we're talking about like bullfrogs.
Yes, bullfrogs.
Which are pretty meaty.
Yeah, pretty meaty. And I really never hear of people eating them often around here, but I looked it up. You can go harvest bullfrogs. And so we tried it out, and yeah, we were hunting, quote unquote, hunting or fishing for them with I took a treble hook. One of my old buddies taught me this. I took a treble hook and put a little red cloth on it and just dangled in front of their face. And yeah, they bite it. Or we even started out fishing with a frog lure.
Yeah. And I remember it was really fun. It works awesome with 2 people. Maybe, I don't know, 3 or 4 would work too. But one of us would have the pole and like slowly reel it in. And the other one would kind of be sitting at the edge of the water with that spear, getting ready to just grab it. And I think after that, they are huge. That was one of the biggest things I like. I was like, holy crap.
I think Trevor described one as he was trying to sneak up on one, and he's like, my God, that thing was the size of a Big Mac.
Yeah, dude, it was huge. But no, what would we usually get? Like 5 or 6?
Yeah,
maybe?
5 or 6 a night. That was a pretty good spot.
But I mean, like that was like a thing where you guys were successful at, but like it was also a lot of fun.
Oh,
like you guys like a lot of laughs there, and like it wasn't super high tense or anything. It's like that was a good way for people to like get out and like have their first kind of experience, like harvesting something and cleaning something. So
yeah, and we took them back and finally fried them up.
They were really
legs.
good. Yeah, one of the funniest stories is that. Okay, so we fried them up that night, and our next door neighbors, we told them, we're like, we invited them over, and they're like, oh, what are you guys cooking? And like, oh, just cooking. Like we didn't want to tell them. Yeah. The 2 girls sat down, and we were like, oh yeah, try it. So of course they did. You don't even need ranch or like ketchup or anything on them. And they tried it, and they're like, oh, that's pretty good. What is it? And we're like, frogs. Well, they instantly wanted to throw up, spit it out. But before they knew that, they said it tasted really good.
Yeah, they did say, if I did not know that was a frog, I would eat that.
You guys are just eating a frog leg, right?
Yeah, just the frog leg.
Yeah, the back legs, like the thigh. And
how does that compare to like a regular like chicken drumstick? Is it like bigger than that or like same size?
A little bit smaller, right?
Yeah, when they get big, they're a little bit smaller. I guess if you could compare it to like a chicken wing, it'd be pretty comparable to that size. But the texture is definitely way different.
Yeah, it was
like it's not bad.
No, but it's just something where you're like, oh, yep, that definitely is not a chicken. Like they could tell right away, but it wasn't bad. So
we'll have to get you eating some frog legs, Ethan.
Yeah, we'll have to make some videos this year doing it and eating some and see how Ty cooks them up.
Well, I mean, like you guys said, how it's so easy to pick up. Like, you could have used like just a spear, fishing pole, and what we had like pair of boots or something. We didn't need anything else.
I mean, you wouldn't even have to have a pair of boots either. I mean, you could go barefoot on the shoreline, but just the oldest fishing pole that you have laying around, just tie a treble hook with a red cloth on it.
Yep.
Well, I mean, I think everybody, like, they're around everywhere. I mean, like, any place there's a body of water, there's a good chance there's a bullfrog. Yep. You'll definitely know the sound of them.
Yeah, it was crazy because once it got darker and darker, you could kind of see their heads sticking out with the sun shadowing over them, and you would be surprised how many were like out there that we couldn't get to.
Yeah,
there was tons of them.
Like probably right by the shore, there'd be like what 10, 15, you'd say?
Yeah, probably 10, 15. We'd probably
need a kayak.
No,
I know that would be a lot of fun, or a canoe. That might be pretty detrimental though. Getting pretty excited about that frog and then tipping over.
Yeah, one of the funnier stories too was we were riding back. And all we did was just put them in a plastic sack and then put them in a lunchbox.
We tried.
Well, yeah,
we tried knocking them out, but
I mean, you guys tried being humane, but they're like tough as shit.
We did everything in our minds to like what I do to fish. We were trying to be humane about it, taking them home and eating them.
Yeah.
But yeah, you guys are like trying to have them have the fastest death possible.
Oh yeah.
Yes, for sure.
We thought we did that, and we were like, Ty was driving back, and I'm like, that noise. Like I heard a plastic bag ruffling, and next thing you know, a head. Like I open the lunchbox, and there's like 2 frogs just chilling right there with their heads out. It was, we had. I don't know. That was one of the funnier things.
Yeah, I know. In Jackson's car, when my first time doing it. We got back to my house and we're like, all right, let's go get those frogs out. And we opened the cooler. There's nothing in there. We're like, where did these things go? Pretty soon we're searching for frogs all around Jackson's car.
Yeah, they're pretty fast too. Like,
yeah, they're tough.
I remember one time one fell off our spear and they are tough. One bugger had had one eye and he just got away from us. Like we couldn't get him.
Yeah, it was crazy. Definitely a fun experience.
I mean, even when you guys had 5, it wasn't like you guys just got 5 then left. I mean, there was a lot you guys missed and didn't get. I mean, there's a lot of learning experience even there.
Yeah, we probably only caught a quarter of them.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of times they really don't get hooked. They kind of just hang on until they land.
I know. And I remember one of the first times I crawled for 5-10 minutes to this one spot, and I had the spear probably a foot away from him, and right as I'm about to spear him, he just swims away. It was just
heartbreaking.
Yeah, that's a good example.
I was pissed.
Yeah, it definitely is a good example of hunting.
But no, that one was really fun. Just a good experience, and didn't need much, and
it was kind of cool, going out, harvesting, and eating something you actually harvested and kind of having that full encompassing experience there.
Yep.
I mean, I think everybody, I think that's another food that we should definitely try to highlight because I think a lot of people have a bad perception of frog legs. I mean, I've seen them, they probably are bad, but I mean, I've seen them at a buffet line. So this frog legs, it's and those don't look too appetizing.
Yeah.
Sitting in a hot lamp all day.
And I was looking it up, see if they were nutritious. The protein value wasn't terrible. I wouldn't say it was too bad. So I think there wasn't very much. There was only 3 grams of protein probably. But it depends because some of those legs were really thick.
Yeah, it depends on what kind of bullfrog you're getting.
Is it a white meat? I don't know. Or what kind of color is it?
It was a white meat.
Yeah.
Yep.
It was good.
What do you think about butchering them? Going to heart, actually cleaning them and stuff.
That was different. I think it was one of those things where I had to be all right, come on, let's not just, I don't know, pussyfoot around here. He wanted to, he was talking about how I'd kind of be careful with it. And he's like, no, you're going to hurt the frog if you're doing that. Just get in there, go quick. So that was fun. I don't know. I had to watch him a couple times though, because I was like, I have no idea what's going on here.
Yeah. I think I watched one YouTube video and it's pretty easy.
Yeah.
Kind of just undress them like it would anything else.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things I don't think you were grossed out about by the guts. It was more so just about the details about how to get the most meat and everything, which is definitely a little challenging on everything. So
yeah, because anything I ever harvest, I get the full potential of what it has to offer. Take everything you can eat off of it.
Yeah, I think that was the biggest thing. Trying to be as humane as possible with it, and also trying to not leave any leftover meat on the frog. Like that was kind of hard, to be honest.
like kind of like do good by the frog. Like I mean, like he's like giving you food, so
Yeah.
And a good experience.
Yeah, and a good experience.
Yeah.
So that was definitely a good primer for someone that's like just thinking about getting outside and experience for it. So
Yeah, it kind of showed what I was missing.
Yeah, showed what you're missing. Like kind of like I think it's definitely not even like the hunt. Just like you're missing like these experiences if you're not open minded to it.
Yeah, and like I don't know, we have limited amount of time to do all these things in our life, and I don't want to. I was kind of kicking myself because I'm like, what are you doing? You're sitting on your phone. You're inside all day checking out what's new on Netflix while Tyler and Ethan are outside enjoying like what the world has to offer. Like, I don't know.
I guess I never thought about it that way.
Yeah, it was kind of bumming me out. I was like, dang, like, why am I not doing that? Taking advantage of it.
Yeah. I mean, I think I definitely want more people outside. And I think that just like, I think there's a lot of, social issues that not social, but mental issues that can come from like being inside your head or being inside too much.
Yeah.
And I think like just going out and doing something as simple as like frogging even can definitely alleviate some of that.
Yeah. Especially with, we kind of got into it with, mainly because I think COVID and everything, we were back home. We didn't have anything to do. So like,
it was just something to go out and do.
Yeah. We were driving ourselves insane, getting trucker butt, sitting on a computer for 6 hours a day. You don't want to do that. So,
and it was still like a challenge. I mean,
yes.
Still like something you're chill starting to like outsmart a frog. I mean, as dumb as it might sound, it's still hard.
Know. It's way harder than it sounds. I definitely, when Ty's like, yeah, we're going to go frog. And I'm like, well, that's not going to be hard. Like what? And then 10 missed frogs later, I'm like, well, geez, never mind then.
Yeah, it's tough, especially trying to throw that spear at him.
No. Yeah.
So, where can people find you, Trevor? I think you're on Instagram, right?
Yeah, Instagram.
What's your handle?
Oh, geez. Probably, honestly, I think it's just Trevor Hanna, to be honest. Yeah.
So look Trevor Hanna up, find him, give him a follow. Hopefully we'll have some cool frogging things up and maybe some cool hunting stuff for this fall.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Maybe shoot some bow and do some fun
definitely.
stuff. All right. You got anything else, guys?
No, I think that covers it.
I think we hit everything.
All right. Sounds great. Well, thanks for coming on, Trevor.
Yeah. Thank you guys for having me on.
Yep. Well, thanks for listening, everybody.
Yeah, thanks, guys.